let's go for it. Keyword. Keyword when you're hitting. What's the problem with reading the whole thing first? Yeah, there's a time test, you know. You don't want to do that first. You got to know what you're reading for. Your job is not to read it. Job is, yes, it's to read it, but it's to get the answers right. You got to know what the questions are. Just happens to be the SAT questions, again, PSAT, SAT, same test, we're talking the same. There's only 6 different kinds of questions. There really are. I had it written down here, and I actually kept a copy of it if I have it around. I probably don't. We'll go through it. Annotate is the key word. This is the key right here. What does annotate mean? You're pre-screening it. You're pre-noting it. You're finding out what ahead of time is it that you're looking for. So first thing you do when you hit the PSAT, first thing you do when you hit the reading is go to the questions. We annotate the questions. Now there are 6 different kinds. You've got general questions. Let's look at it. Let's look at the real test. Let's make sure we all got the same one. That starts off with, let's see, the reading starts off saying, M. Woodhouse. Is that the beginning of it? Okay, so on the same page here, literally. Okay, turn it to the next one. Notice I've done some annotating. Look at the first question. What kind of question is number 1? When do you answer it? At last. Why did they put it at the beginning? Waste your time. They know what they're doing. They're putting it there to see. Are you going to read the whole thing first? Well, this is a time test. I don't recommend that at this moment until you know what you're looking for. Question number 2. What kind of question is 2? Well, it gives you the line numbers too. Whenever you have line number questions, mark it. Mark it on the reading. You can write in the booklet. So go ahead and make the mark. Do that. First, it's annotating it. Why? Because it tells you where to focus your attention. It shows you where a question is focused. And when it covers this many lines, it's probably going to be there. If it covers 2 lines, you're going to have to read around it. You know it's not going to be right there. Not going to tell you where it is. But if they're going to give you a bunch of lines, it's probably going to ask you something about that paragraph. I'm assuming. Very general questions and large line number questions. Basically, if you've been able to read, certainly in this case, if you read those lines, you should have that answer. So, next question is, did you notice that number 3 and 4? Look at number 4. This is unique to the SAT. And PSAT. This is unique. This is the only test I've ever seen that has coupled questions, where you actually find where you got the answer. And you look at the second one, and that's where their answer is. So when you have a coupled question, link it like that. Make sure you couple it. Nobody else will tell you to do that. They're not going to tell you how to play the game. If you go online, they're going to show you how to practice. They're not going to give you the hints. They're the referees. They're not going to tell you how they're going to call the game. They're just going to tell you this is what you got to do, and if you're not getting it right, read better, learn how to read. I don't know what they're going to say, but it's not going to tell you this. The point is, when you couple it on the paper, you're telling yourself, when you see the answer to the first question, make sure you know where you found it. Or even better, or alternate, if you don't know where the answer is, use those as a guideline. But this brings up the most important question on both the SAT, PSAT, and ACT. What's the worst thing you could do on a problem? Get stuck. So if you think you're going to have a problem with the problem, what do you do? Whether it's math or reading, what do you do? Guess and move on. Exactly. You're not coming back to it. That was the whole point. What you don't want to do is get stuck. So this will really help. I call it saving 2 birds with 1 cage. Because if you know where you found the answer, you got 2 answers. And if the first one's right and you know where you found it, well, then you got 2 right. You got 2 right at one time. So the whole point is, coupled questions are easy to answer if you know where you're going. Again, of course you have to read it, but now you know why you're reading or what you're reading for, and this gets you 2 in 1. So if you get 1 right, check it. If you get the second one right, you know you got the idea. Whole point is, you know ahead of time, make sure you know where the answer was when you're reading it. Or use the second one as a guideline, but if you don't know where it is, just put a good answer down where you think and go on. Time is important. The best way to know whether you have enough time is practice with a clock. Now, not the whole test. You can take a fraction of it. You can do 11 questions or 9 questions, a fraction. Just keep the timing aware how much time you would have and see if you can do those in that time limit. That's what we do when we have the classes. We do a portion of it, figuring if you can't do it in the time, then you got to pick up the time. If you are, then you're ahead of time. Then you're going to finish early. Good advice. If you do finish early on the reading, and frankly for every section, but really on the reading it's more obvious, what should you do if you say 2 minutes early? What do you do? Don't check anything. You already put your best answer down. Anything you check is going to go from right to wrong. So what do? Make sure the bubbles are nice and dark. Just stay focused. Just go back and just go. I've found that people who finish early do better than those who use up every minute of the time. I just discovered that over the years. That just happened to be. So now my attitude is, if you finish early, that's good. A lot of people would say, oh no, you got to use all the time. No, it doesn't work. I'm only interested in the score. When you finish 2 minutes early, you can sit back and smile. You know you did your best performance. That's the best. And you can look back, make sure the bubbles are nice and dark. And when the time runs out, you're all right. Yep, yeah, I know, I'm good. I'm ready to go. Because you just don't want to fall behind when the clock is basically governing the test. Okay, and on the SAT, if you practice knowing what to do and timing yourself on a smaller amount, not the whole test, you can if you want, but you get a better feel if you just do a little at a time, you'll know if you got enough time. And then when you take the PSAT, you'll know ahead of time where you're going to go. You know what it's going to be like. So we got coupled questions. We got general questions. Take a look at question number 5. What kind of question is that? Vocabulary question. Now let me explain how this works. First of all, go back to line 26 and circle that word. You don't want to look for it later. The questions are all on the other side of the page. You're going to have to go back and look. You don't want to look later. You're reading. You look now, read later. If you have to go back into I got to find the word mode, you're going to overheat your engine. You don't want yourself to do extra work. So you mark it now, you annotate it now so that when you get to the reading, you know what you're looking for. You know where the questions are focused, plus the general questions. Here's the key. It's a fill in the blank. What that means is, you might say, well, it isn't. It is. It's the old version in a new reconstituted manner. What you do is, don't define the word yet. Read it. Figure out what word, even before you look at the choices, what word would you put in the place? You got to know what word they're using it as. Not what definition it would mean normally. Because they're usually not going to use the common definition. So what you do is you read it, think what word would pick its place. And then I'm going to leave the next blank out because the big strategy hasn't been mentioned yet. But now you know what to do. You put your words in, you look at the choices, and you find out whatever you're going to put. And I'll explain why I'm not giving you the whole story now. But you got it. Don't look at the choices until you know what you're looking for. Okay, let's see what the next question is. There's only 6 kinds of questions. You've got general questions, coupled questions, vocabulary questions. How about question 6? What kind of question is that? It's vocab again. Another one. It's like we're seeing the same stuff. Yes, you're going to see the same stuff on every test. The good news about vocab questions are fast. They are fast. They're not always easy. I mean, people don't always get them right, but they're fast. And if you got it wrong, well, I mean, if you said, oh, I didn't know that word, I didn't know how the, well, that's life. Remember, what's the worst thing you could do on a problem? That's the worst. You don't want to get stuck on it. If you did it and you say, well, hey, I did it. I got it wrong. Well, that's life. I take a shot. I'm not sure I'm going to make it, but if everything's right, I got a good chance. But if I don't, there's another shot coming up, so it's not over. Let's try what kind of question is 7? Oh, yes. Notice coupled already. Yes, this is when I was with the juniors showing them how to do it, so I did all the heavy work already. How exciting. Now you guys get you're the beneficiaries of all the knowledge and wisdom that the juniors know. And you're only sophomores. Oh, so sad. Nice. Okay, let's try number 9. What kind of question is that? Line numbers again. Gee, that seems like all the questions. I'll tell you some of the other questions sometimes. Sometimes I call this the ACT question. Occasionally they might say, ask you a question. They don't give you the line numbers, but it's not general. It's like a specific question. That's what the ACT is all about, where you have to actually look to find out where they're talking about it. And if you find it, you probably found the answer. That's the ACT. The ACT does that, but they give you too many questions and not enough time, unless you're a fast reader. Whenever the SAT has it, you might look at it and go, oh, that's specific. I have to look for that word. Oh, that's an ACT question. Easy to find. If you know where it is, you're going to get it right. Now, the other question, the last one, and I don't see it here, but I'll probably, turn the page. You'll see it on the next one. I didn't get here, but I could see it right there. Chart questions. See the chart there? I'm sure there's a chart question somewhere. Let's just look at it real fast. Question 10. What kind of question? Vocab. How about 11? Line numbers. Notice how repetitious, how predictable this. How about 12? Yeah, general 60s primarily serves to, yeah, general. How about 13? Vocab, how about 14? Coupled. That's why you've got to remember the coupled questions. Otherwise, you're going to get to the next question and going to go, oh no, now I don't remember where I found the answer. You should have known that ahead of time. That's why annotating it saves you having to go back and go, oh gosh, no, I should have known that. Well, you should. That's why we do that. How about question 16? Oh, another coupled question. Wow, 2 in a row. How about 18? To see what it looks like. No. And whenever they have a graph question, I'll just tell you point blank, stay to the graph. Don't go back to the reading. Because I had one where I was doing with another section, I got it wrong. And then when I've had to, walk the walk, as they say, to talk the talk. I've taken all the practice tests and all the tests I get my hands on. And there was one I looked back at it and I went, how did I miss that problem? I put an answer that was, and then I realized, oh, I went back to the reading. But the question is, what's the graph talking about? And the graph never said anything about the answer I put down. So whenever you have a graph question, go to the graph. Just be careful you read the graph carefully. They're always a little bit tricky. Try the practice. I don't know that question, but try that question. See if you get it right. And if you don't, it'll probably remind you got to be more careful when you're analyzing the graph. Because they're never as simple as they look. But the answer is going to be there. And what kind of question is 19 since we went, oh, another one. Oh, 2 graph questions. Oh, there's something good. So there you go. You got all the questions. Now, here's the one key. You've got 4 choices. Which answers are you looking for? Answers that are, for those who don't know the answer you're looking for is the one that is? No, shortest is grammar. You're going in the wrong department here. Too much knowledge. You're looking for the wrong answer. Now what do you do when you see it's wrong? Eliminate it. What if it's half right? Half right. Well, you tell me if this is right. Right, wrong, or half right. George Washington crossed the Delaware on a surfboard. What he did? What's half right mean? Wrong. You can't get a half. There's no such thing as half right. That's like saying my friend took his car and drove to the moon. Really? Well, he took his car and drove. Not to the moon. No, it's half right. No, it's not right. No, what you just told me is not right. There's no such thing as that. It either is right. What if it's 99% right? That's right. And they're going to look for wrong. They're going to try to get you. I had, during a regular class, a beautiful answer, and almost everybody picked it. And it was so good. It was said they wanted to make the people safe, happy, and obedient. And obedient, what are they, puppies or something? Obedient, that wasn't part of it. Safe, yes. Happy, yes. But obedient? And what happens when one word is wrong? It's wrong. You got to look for the wrong answer. Do not look for right answers. You will get taken astray. They will win. They're out to try to camouflage the answer. And sometimes the right answer doesn't even look right, but it's the only one that isn't wrong. You look at the answer and you go, yeah, I guess that could be the answer. Well, you eliminated the others. It has to be the answer. But if you look for the answer, there's no way in the world that would look like a correct answer. I mean, there's some I looked at and it was like, without the other choices being wrong, I would never think that's right. So look for wrong answers. Got that? Makes clear? Look for wrong answers. I want to raise your scores. If you can say I eliminated those 2 and then I looked at the other 2 and one of them didn't seem to really match, you got your answer. That's where you put the time in. And how do you know if you have enough time? The practice now works when you check the clock and see if you're doing it within the time you have. Okay, so, well, that's the end of the reading part.